Alright guys, happy week 4. Hope you're doing well. Tonight's class is online, or I should say this week's class is online because I'm sure many of you probably aren't going to do it on Tuesday night from the 8 to 10 o'clock time slot, and that's fine. You can do it whenever you want. So this week we're talking about learning theories, and in the book you read about behavioralism, constructivism, and other isms, and hopefully that's going well. And hopefully you have somewhat good of a grasp on these learning theories from other educational classes. The one that I want to talk about really quick is social constructivism. I think the book might allude to it, but doesn't give a lot of detail on it. Social constructivism is actually a theory that I really like and I adhere to a lot, and I think it's worth discussing just for a minute. Social constructivism was really brought about by a few different educational leaders, one being Lev Vygotsky. You're probably familiar with him. The idea of the more knowledgeable other, scaffolding, those types of things come from Lev Vygotsky. Also, social constructivism would also be attributed to some of Dewey's work as well, John Dewey. But primarily it's going to be Lev Vygotsky's work. Now, social constructivism, like constructivism, basically is stating that what we know, our knowledge, what we learn, is constructed. It is based on the context of our past experience. It is based on how we take in that information and how we connect it with things we already know and construct new knowledge as a result of those things. Social constructivism takes it just a little bit further, and it's basically that we construct knowledge based on our interactions with other people also. So if you think about this in like a traditional classroom setting, let's say that we're having a class discussion. Social constructivism would say that what I say or what you say or what one of your peers says influences what you come to know as knowledge. And so there is a social component to this construction of knowledge, whereby your interactions with other people together with your past experiences, together with what you already know, will come together to form your understanding of a particular topic. So if you think about this, let's think about it from the idea of technology. There's a lot of opportunity for group work. We've seen some of that with the Google Docs. Also, online classes, you tend to have a lot of discussion boards and things like that. And so I want to pose a question for you to think about. How is identity linked to the construction of knowledge in a social classroom type setting? Think about this for a second. Now, identity is a really, kind of crazy concept. Who are you? Who am I? Who are we? Who do you perceive yourself to be? Who are you really? And who do you project to be? And so if you think about all these things together in a face-to-face classroom, who I am and who I project myself to be could be different. Who I am and who I project myself to be could be the same. And so my classroom interactions are going to be based on my projected self, maybe not necessarily my actual self. And so if we hold to a social constructivist type learning theory, then everybody's knowledge is constructed based on other people's projected self and maybe not necessarily their actual self. So do people's projected identity versus their actual identity influence what you come to know and understand about particular topics based on your social interactions with other people? Think about it in terms of an online class. Let's take discussion boards, for example. We have the same idea of projected identity and actual identity, where people type things and have an opportunity to review what they've typed and to really formulate what they're saying to line up with their projected identity. Again, that might be their actual identity, it might not be. So really, same type of situation. Your socially constructed knowledge is based on other people's projected identity and what they want you to think about themselves. I think anonymity plays an interesting part in this. Online interactions have a certain level of anonymity. Now, some discussion boards can be totally anonymous. You have no idea who that person is. Some discussion boards, your identity can be known, but there is this idea of the cloak of anonymity, where you feel anonymous because you're physically removed from that person. You guys have probably experienced this phenomenon. How many of you have sent a text message to someone and the contents of that text message you probably wouldn't have said face to face, or sent an email or a picture or things like that? A lot of our young people are getting into a lot of trouble because they feel anonymous, they feel empowered, they feel brave, even though their identity is actually known, and they end up doing and saying things online or with mobile technology that they wouldn't do otherwise. So back to the idea of the discussion board and anonymity. If you were anonymous, would the content of your discussion change? All the girls in the class, sorry Bing, you don't get to participate in this next thought. All the girls in the class, if you could pick a pseudonym for an online discussion and hide your identity, what would the gender of that pseudonym be? Would it be female? Would it be male? Or would it be gender neutral? There's actually been a lot of studies that suggest that women will pick gender neutral pseudonyms or male pseudonyms a lot of the time because they feel as though their opinion as a woman isn't as valued when there's men around. So what would you do, women? If you were a mixed class, kind of unlike this one, we have Bing and Levi, but they're the only two males. If you were in a pretty well mixed class between male and female, and you had the opportunity for an anonymous discussion, would you keep a female name? Would you use a gender neutral name, or would you use a male name, and why? So those are the types of things that we kind of run into when it comes to the social construction of knowledge. How do you perceive? What do you perceive your identity to be? And what do you want to project your identity to be? And how is everybody's knowledge constructed based on those projections of identity? And then from the online classroom perspective, and that's really where this comes into play with technology, is how do things like gender, anonymity, or at least perceived anonymity affect how we project ourselves, and thus affect the outcomes of learning based on a socially constructed classroom. I know that's a lot of deep thoughts and thinking, and I don't have the answers for it. It's something that I'm very interested in, and I'd like for you to give that some thought. I'm going to have a discussion board post where you can post your thoughts, and I'm actually going to make the discussion board anonymous, or at least I'm going to attempt to. And I want you just to put in there what you're thinking about identity, social construction of knowledge, and online learning, in particular with discussion boards and things like that. So hope you guys have a great week. Work on your lesson plans. If you have any questions, email me at mattwintech@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to clear up any misunderstandings. Remember that your first lesson plan is due next week. Have a great, relaxing week. Get some rest tonight, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.